Sadness. My daughter and I was having a nice day, the end of April, '94. She pumped my gas for the first time and was feeling a little bit older, and she was 14 years old, 2 months shy of being 15. Alicia and I was talking about angels coming to be with someone when they die. My aunt had just passed away in the end of March, and this was the end of April, and we were conversing about how one dies and how angels come forth to meet you and take you away. She was looking forward to going to the cinema that night. I said, "I will take you. Do you have a ride back?" She said, "No problem, Mom. I have a ride." So she was getting ready and standing at my bedroom door watching me get dressed, and I said, "You know, Alicia, if you were to die, your stuff will go to Heidi and vice versa." She said, "Yes, I know, Mom." I had taken her to the cinema, and it was getting late, and I was wondering where she was. I fell asleep, and I woke up at 4 a.m., and she wasn't home. At 7 o'clock, the police came to my door and holding her necklace, and he said, "Are you familiar with this necklace?" I said, "It's Alicia's necklace." He said, "Well, I hate to inform you, but your daughter was just in a car accident this morning at 4:08 a.m., and she is dead. Her neck was broken in the car accident." I immediately tried to recall our conversation for that day in my mind, and the conversation was about angels. God prepared for this event knowing it was going to take place. I know our conversation was about angels, and God covered my heart for the preparation. The time arrived for the angels to take her home. This is how God prepares conversation for the future. The boy giving Alicia and her friend a ride home was 21 years old. He had taken a new medication for a collapsed lung, chasing it down with a beer right before the ride. This was April 30th when the girls came out of the cinema. He decided to take the girls for a thrill ride in the Old Town Beaufort, Georgia by a railroad track. A straight street where kids speed down the road with smooth bumps for thrills. So he takes them to the street and charges down the road and hits one of the bumps, and they went up in the air and hydroplaned and lost control and came down and hit a culvert and bounced back out and came straight down and hit a big oak tree. Alicia, my daughter, was in the front seat and her neck was broken instantly, but her friend was hiding behind Alicia in the back seat and was protected. She scraped her way out of the back seat over the guy and Alicia. She screamed for help, and someone heard her and came running, and she was placed in the hospital. The guy was not hurt. They had taken him to court, but his medical condition, they didn't put him in jail. They gave him 5 years house arrest. I called the hospital to talk to Alicia's friend, but she wouldn't talk. The person in her room told me she was going to be in a wheelchair for a long time. The boy called my house to tell me he was sorry and was sobbing, and I was in such despair I didn't know what to say. I did not know Alicia's friend. I went to the junkyard to see the car, and the car was completely totaled, a small Mustang. Alicia was an Amazon girl. The car would have completely squashed her. Sadness, fear came over me, and joy and happiness all disappeared. I was in distraught. It felt like the house had a feeling of hopelessness. I went around the house proclaiming God in every room because fear entered into my being. I quit work knowing it wasn't important. I had money to back me up. And yet I started searching and pulled out all my Bibles and my dictionaries in search of our souls. Where do we go? I studied from the time she left, May 1st, '94, through spring, summer, fall, and winter till spring. I was in total despair, feeling lost. When my daughter died, they told me if a rescue squad didn't get to the individual within 14 minutes, the person is likely to die. My heart was already broken, and to hear this made it even worse. So I traveled, and I would hear a siren. It would break my heart, and I would burst out crying and gushing of tears. I would pull over to the side of the road. I would intercede and pray for the person who was in need of rescue. This went on for many years. Every one of us has some kind of flashback in our lives, but God heals broken hearts. When I was sad and tearful, I would call out to the Lord, whispering many prayers and ask for God's help. I started lighting candles throughout the house. I would repeat a verse I found in the Bible: trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. I would light the candles ritually. Repeat this verse many times throughout the day. Till this day, I light a candle. I was in great pain. My deceased daughter of 14 years old, I was in devastation. I did not know how to react or show my feelings. I was stone cold. I had taken up the verse, trust in the Lord, lean not on your own understanding, and acknowledge God. He will direct your path. I started whispering prayers, asking God to help me to understand constantly. So every day I would light a candle and state this verse and cry to God. I had been praying and my body felt so heavy and overloaded I couldn't function mentally or physically. I went to church one Sunday morning in need of relief. My husband and my daughter went with me to a charismatic church called River of Life in Lilburn, Georgia. The minister asked the congregation to open up our hands and stretch them out to God while standing. I was in despair and at my limit, and I started gushing and crying to God. I said, Lord, I can't take this pain. Please take this heavy pain that I am feeling away. As I lifted my hands direct into the air and said, Lord, I am trusting in you. And you said, if I trust in the Lord, lean not on my own understanding, and then acknowledge you, you would direct my path. As soon as I said these words, tingles came forth at the top of my head, tingling like a fine mist straight down through my body, pushing heaviness throughout my fingertips and throughout my toes. The heaviness that I was feeling completely left my body like turning on and off of a light switch. I was healed. My continence of heaviness left. Relief came forth with joy. It felt like light overcame darkness. Despair had to leave. The heaviness of the darkness was leaving. Lighter and lighter I was feeling. As it was leaving my body, joy came forth, and my face felt like I had taken off a mask. Depression left. I call this a miracle. When hard pressed, I cried to the Lord, and he brought me into a spacious place. Psalm 118, verse 5. God gives us extra energy where we had none. I was given an extra dose of energy where I had none. That energy is God's energy, an energy deep within you. God himself willing and working at what will give him the most pleasure. Do everything readily and cheerfully, no bickering, no second guessing allowed. Go out into this world uncorrupted, a breath of fresh air in this squalid and polluted society. Provide people with a glimpse of good living and of the living God. Philippians 2, verses 13 through 23. Amen.